G'day guys, Blisso here from Old Mac Crew. We're just perched up here at Horse Rock Camp in Lincoln National Park near Port Lincoln at the moment. We're having a bit of a down day. The weather's not real great, it's a bit chilly, so I just thought while I'm not doing anything I might do a quick run through on the old girl here, what we done to get her ready for this trip we're doing. So just to recap on where we're up to, we're 2 weeks into a 4-month trip. So we've come along the coast of South Australia. So that's where we're heading as well. We're going to stick to the coast as much as we can because it's supposed to be in the warmer months, but at the moment we're going to have another 4 or 5 days of cool weather. So I just wanted to run through a few things that I've done with the big girl, and I'm going to put it in 2 parts. So part number 1 will be preventative maintenance, things we've done, you know, just things that may need a refresh or just to make sure everything's sweet, that didn't necessarily need replacing but have maybe been on the vehicle for a while or looking a bit dodgy, so we've replaced it to prevent anything from happening. And the second part is stuff we've had to do to the big girl regardless of the trip that needed to be fixed or repaired to be able to keep driving her. So alright, so I'll get into number 1. So, you know, all this preparation started, you know, months before we started heading off. It all started back in April when we had a problem with the clutch, but I'll get into that. So what I've done with the big girl, preventative side, I replaced all the fan belts, and now there was nothing really wrong with the old ones. They'd been on there a couple of years, but just saying that, you know, anything could happen out here. You know, if we go and do a bit of remote stuff and we drop a belt, then we haven't got anywhere close to be able to pick one up. So what I do then, every time I replace the belts, I keep the old ones for spares, and the spare old ones I had before I throw them out. So I'll keep rotating them so they're not getting too old or you know, too dry, and they tend to break anyway. So the other thing I've done was replaced all heater hoses, radiator hoses. Done the main heater hoses and the 2 shorter ones on the back of the firewall. So why I did that, one of the front main ones were a bit dodgy, or starting to get a bulge, so I said bugger it, I'm just going to change the lot to make sure that we don't have a problem with those later on down the track, especially if we're travelling in the warmer months. You know, the vehicle's going to run hotter, especially when towing, so it's going to put more pressure on those points that aren't real good or maybe a bit viable to a breakage. So and in the process, while we're doing that, we noticed there was a small leak in the bottom of the radiator. So it wasn't a big concern at the time, but I didn't want the problem sneaking up and also getting worse later on in this trip, so I just replaced the radiator as well. So that's pretty much what I've done in the engine bay, just to freshen all that up and make sure all that stuff's sort of in good nick. The other stuff we've done, I've done all the fluids, like I've done the gearbox fluid, the rear diff and the front diff. I've done all those. Transfer was done. We checked the fluid levels under the bonnet of the clutch and the brakes. They were good, they were clean oil, so we left it as it was. Other stuff we done, we put her up on the hoist and we checked everything. We checked all brake pads, checked all the wheel bearings, greased anything necessary, just check for general wear and tear and different things under the car. and just made sure there's nothing there that may have been a problem on this trip that we could sort out before we left. Everything came up pretty good, so we just greased her up and just done all those bits and pieces and made sure she was freshened up and ready to go. And now another thing I put under preventative maintenance, I put new lights on. You might have seen that video a while ago where I installed them. Well, the reason for putting these on was just the old ones work fine, but they were getting, you know, a bit outdated, and they were more of a spread than a spot beam on them, so I wanted something that would do both. So I went with these King's Lethal, because one's a spot and one's a spread, so and they're a lot brighter, and they do exactly the same job as the other ones, only better, because they give them more distance on the roads, because we do a lot of back road travelling, dirt roads and stuff. You want to be able to see if there's anything out in front of you, like roos or any livestock or anything like that. You want to be able to see it before you get too close, especially when you're towing, because you can't just pull up on a dime. You need to have a bit of time. So they were my choice, and they're a budget light, so for the money I give them the thumbs up. They're good. Other preventative maintenance, we put new tyres on the vehicle. The other ones were getting a bit worn. They were 3 parts worn out. They probably would have done the start of the trip, but I didn't want to have to be replacing tyres while we were gone. So I got some new tyres, rims as well, put them on. So we shouldn't have any problems with these tyres. They'll get us around the trip. We're planning on doing about 20,000 k's, so we shouldn't have any problems there. Other preventative stuff I did, not essentially for the car, but for both the van and the car. We will do a run around on the van with things we've done with it as well to make it better, or, you know, preventative stuff as well, but that'll be another video. So what I did do with this is I've got a set of what do they call it, rock tamers, the big mud flaps that just go on your tow bar and they sit down low behind your wheels. Because on the last trip we noticed the van was getting a few rocks hitting the front part of the van, put a few dents in it, and the problem there is, and then they could rebound and hit the back windows and break the windows. So we put these on there to stop that from happening. So that was something we did there to protect both car and van. So as far as preventative, that's all I can think of that I did. So now, if I think of anything else, I'll bring it up. But now I'll go into the second part, which is needed to be repaired or fixed regardless of the trip. So number one thing we had to do, when I say we started in April, the clutch started slipping when we were going down to Ballaginy to go down the Saw Feast. We got the Coolman and 60 k's away from home, and it started slipping, so I had to take the car back and use Vic's Colorado for the rest of that trip. So I had to get a new clutch put in, and I put Super Duty, I suppose you call it, extra heavy duty clutch. It'll handle up to 1,000 newton meters of torque, 300 horsepower power, I think. But I wanted the extra heavy duty because we are towing a heavy van, and yeah, sometimes you may need to ride the clutch to get up a hill or take off or something like that. So I wanted a clutch that would handle all that. So we put that in. It's an MPC Viper Extreme, I think it is. I got it installed by a fellow down in Wodonga. So we had to do the flywheel, done the clutch thrust bearing, and while we had the gearbox out, we done the rear main seal as well. And if anyone knows about the TDs, you don't do one without the other. If you're going to do a clutch, you do the rear main, because you've got to pull the gearbox out, and it's a fairly decent job to get it out to be able to do just that one job, so you do it all at the same time. And then after that was done, it had a leak when we took it down there, an oil leak, and we just assumed it was the rear main finally letting go. Like, it always had a weep, but never drips on the ground or anything. But then I took it down there, I assume if the clutch wore, you know, it's probably the seal's gone as well, so it wasn't helping. So we just assumed it was that, and the flies are bad. Look, they're relentless. Anyway, so it had a leak. We done all that, and I drove it home. It still had the leak, and I thought, hopefully he's done a good job on the seal. Took it to my mechanic. He said, No, it's the rear main's leaking. Obviously it might have been just a dodgy seal or something, so I rang him. He said bring it back, we'll replace it. I've got it down there, the seal wasn't leaking. He thought it was a tappet cover, so we put a new tappet cover gasket on there. It did have a leak there, but I didn't think it'd be enough to cause that pull on the ground. We replaced it, picked it up. Yep, it seemed good. Got back halfway home to put fuel in, and I noticed the oil leak was still there. So I had to put two and two together and think, what would it be? And it was actually, the oil was coming out from behind the bell housing, and it wasn't that seal. So the only other thing it could be was the seal in the input shaft of the gearbox. And I checked the oil, that was brown, not black, so obviously that's what it was. So we had to pull the gearbox back out just to replace that seal, but now it's fixed. So a bit of effort going in. There's a reason why we didn't do a lot of the trips in between, because we didn't have the vehicle in 100% condition. I didn't want to go driving around with oil leaks and stuff, and all that sort of caper. So that was one thing that needed to be done. So the other thing we wanted to do, the front diff, where the wheel swivel hubs are on the diff for the steering and stuff, that was starting to leak quite badly. So we got new bearings, new seals, new all that went in at the same time. So the whole front diff's been done up. So we're good to go there. And that was pretty much everything that needed to be fixed regardless. Other than that, everything's just, just typical, monitor, check and make sure everything's sweet, which is good. So yeah, so I just wanted to run through that while I was doing nothing. Some things that may be relevant for your vehicle, some things maybe not. General checks every day are good. Check your oil, your water and stuff like that. Belts, hoses, anything like that that can deteriorate in time, worth checking or replacing before you go. So I might add a couple other things while I've got you set up here and talking. The other thing I did specifically for this trip was the King's awning up there, the 270-degree awning, freestanding, no pole, so we put that up there as well. That was something we put on there for this trip. We didn't know whether on the rooftop or that, so we could, if we were away with the van, we could do day trips or a couple of weekend trips or something away without the van. But we decided to go with that because this trip is mostly going to be about coastline, so we can take the van in 99% of the places we want to go, and if we need to go and check some areas out, we can just ditch the van and do day trips and stuff like that. So that's why we're with that. So we're on the beach, we can drive down there, set up the awning, have a few drinks under the awning and spend the day on the beach with a bit of shade, and happy days. Alright, well, I think that's all I can think of at the moment. Big girl, as I said, we're 2 weeks in, we've done 1,500 k's and she's purring like a kitten. Oh, before I forget, while I was down getting the clutch done in Wodonga, our mate happened to be a dyno tunist, and he specialised in TD42s, which is one of the main reasons why I went there. And so we got it tuned while she was there, just to give her a bit of a boost, because we did put a stainless steel 3-inch exhaust from turbo back on this vehicle. We did put a resonator box, so it wouldn't drone and be really noisy and obnoxious when you're driving around town, or just towing the van. That fly give me one. Towing the van, and it's just not going to be droning in your ear. So we got it tuned to suit the exhaust and give it a bit more power, pulling power. So we gained 32 horsepower just by doing that. So it went from 88 horsepower up to 120. Is it 300 and something? I haven't got the paper here. It's 300 or just under 380, 400 newton meter, something like that of torque. And it doesn't sound like a big gain, but for this old girl, towing the van now is a lot easier. It's got more power, it's better on fuel, and it doesn't lug and struggle like it used to, especially on the hills. It'll pull up most hills now. I could be doing 90, 95 k's in fifth gear. It'll just go up and down without too many problems now. So, and that's a good power for me that I trust that won't hurt the engine. So yeah, it's running cooler, it's better on fuel, it's got more power, so it's way better for towing and stuff like that. Alright, so that's all I can think of. We'll do another video, I suppose, with things that we brought on the trip that may be helpful or useful depending on the trip you want to do. We'll do that in a future episode. We'll definitely do the walk around on the van, and things we've done to the van to get her up and ready too. Alright, yeah, I'll just make sure. Oh no, and we put the stickers on, see those? We put them on. There's one on the windscreen, and I'll carry around here one on both sides of the vehicle, so on the windows there. So that was just another little final touch we've done just to make us look a bit more official, you know. We got the nice shirts and everything, so we just want to look tidy, you know, and people recognise us. We love talking to people, so people pull up and see these stickers or these shirts, they know who we are, and they'll come up and have a yarn or introduce themselves and things like that, which is really, really good. Which is part of the reason why we do this, because we just love talking to people on their adventures, where they've been. We can pick up tips on where to go in places they may have already been where we're heading, so it's really useful to be able to talk to people. Alright, I'll wrap that up here. So yeah, hopefully you'll get something out of this, and you might find some useful information with your car, whether it be old or new. And yeah, alright, I'll talk to you later.
Well dear, here we are.
We are here.
What's going on here?
Oh, let some air out of the tyres.
Pretty.
This is coming up, it's cracking.